You can use this one, but it's not very. Bawa ilmu ke sini sebab. Mungkin mas detail submission. Yes. Nah, ipai uyu dari sebab apa? My name is Charles Owenje, the Chairperson of the House Committee. Minister of Finance.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fatima Songore. I'm from this.
We go straight to the Chairman and Secretary so that we can introduce your team.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Engineer J.S. Kangara, the Director of Development. Thank you.
I think maybe what we can do is to save on time.
That the evidence that I'll give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. It's the health of the law.
Engineer J.S. Kangara, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
I, Xavier Chisoko, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth.
I, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth, so help me God.
I'm Damozo Juma, the Acting Director, Procurement Management Unit, Ministry.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maybe Segeni, Director.
Once again, welcome you, Minister of Transport, to the Public Accounts Committee. Please feel at home. You've only been asked to come and respond to the issues that were raised by the General in the effort to try to improve on the management of public finances and assets. I'm going to start with the questions, but just because we got your responses very late, I'm going to ask honorable members to check on your phones. You have a 168-page document. I think I'm going to ask you to focus on those areas you may feel have not been adequately covered. So go through the document, and as we go from my right, you will just pick on those questions that you feel have not been adequately responded to. And also I may also be asking you to ask specific questions for transport. I think you noticed that in the General's report, there was reference to direct payments, which were made on your behalf, and which were obviously not captured by your ministry. Could you tell us what these direct payments were for, and what efforts do you make on a regular basis to make sure that you pick them and bring them to account? Thank you.
Direct payments that we picked, one of them was used to do with price variations for Great Bridge, Harare Road. and also some payments to do with service providers like our water supplies. So what usually happens, these payments are made directly by Treasury on behalf of a ministry. After those payments are done, what's supposed now to happen is that there is now supposed to be like a POP that is given to the ministry that we capture, or a budget support that is fed to the ministry so that we know that payment has been done. So those are the ones that we're delaying in coming from Treasury, and my team, now what they have to do is to make a follow-up now with Treasury to make sure that we have that budget support also reflecting from our side to ensure that that payment has been done. So we've been making more effort because Treasury, once Treasury has paid, they really have they've done their job. You know, now it's up to us now to make sure that the same payment also reflects on our side. So my finance team always goes back to Treasury to make sure that the payments also reflect from our side.
Just maybe we need to also, because you only mentioned, I think, 2 payments. Can we get a breakdown? I think the question was, can we have a breakdown of the 232 million? Because it's a big amount, and we have already recommended as part to the ministry to desist from making direct payment. And also maybe we can also confirm whether all these direct payments they emanated from the ministry. There are some ministries that they will just later on know that the payment was made. I don't know where it initiated from, but the payment is made from somewhere. Then the burden now is on the ministry to try to follow up. So with your ministry, maybe just confirm whether all these 232 million the request had originally come from you for the ministry to pay, and also just maybe the breakdown.
Where we are saying that the amount actually is yes, USD 232 in a settlement of the ministry's obligations. So the direct payments are payable directly to suppliers by Treasury on behalf of transport, and we actually requested for that. So the expenditure for such, okay, I just want to see where, yes. So this 232 that we're talking about was by year end of 2022, the fiscal year, and the payments under the view were the exchange rate variances for Harare National bridge contractors.
Maybe you need to explain, because when you say exchange rate variations, the whole 232 million, was it for exchange rate variations? Can you maybe give us more information so that we can understand exactly what the payment was for, and to which supplier?
Just before you answer, Secretary, we need to have actual details of what that variance was constituted of. Here, the 232 million is the USD. In Zimbabwe dollar terms, we had 59.6 billion, of which 9.5 billion was unaccounted for. Right. So it is the 9.5 billion that we need you to explain fully. Yes, thank you.
Yes, with your indulgence. Yes, indeed, the basic explanation is given by the payment sector as to how direct payments arise. Indeed, if you check in the Appropriation Act, the works that were undertaken by the ministry were way, way above. And in that regard, during the construction of this road, payments ought to have been made. But since they were beyond the approved budget, letters were written to Treasury for payment to be made to the various companies. And when it is done, Treasury ought to have adequate corresponding local currency to give to the ministry to upload and sanitize the payments done. But it will have had the effect of increasing our budget. More often you find that it has to be taken back again to Parliament to be voted. So if we remain without having inputted it into our system, it then is well above our approved budget. But the question that I have now heard that is critical is for us to provide a breakdown as to what it's related to. And I think this can be done.
But you don't know for which companies were paid?
Well, these are the companies that were
Which ones?
contracting the roads.
Which one?
The road machinery?
Yes, there's Fossil Contracting, Exodus and Company, Bitumen World, Tensa, and Masimba, the five contractors that are working on that road.
Okay, so you are able to give us a breakdown and when can you do that?
Well, I think these records that we already have, I think our accountants can actually put together a document that talks to the person. Today is what?
Today is
Monday. I think by Wednesday, Wednesday.
end of day Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. And maybe since these are payment for roads, maybe can you confirm how much are you paying per kilometer? Because there have been various, it's just on average, how much are you paying per kilometer for the roads that are being constructed? And also, how much are you owing these companies that have been doing various roads, not only the ones that we are talking about, as of now, so that we appreciate the debt that you have, or if you have paid them, then you just did so. Thank you.
Thank you, PS, through your honorable members. The cost per kilometer actually is a very difficult question to answer. Cost per kilometer is like asking the price of a vehicle, but now it varies from one road to another depending on the specifications and design. Mainly on a rebate bridge, we can just pick a figure of say 1.2 million US as an average. Quote me right, it's just an average, but depends on the terrain. In some areas, I'm sure you have seen like areas in Beatrice where we had to excavate the clay for up to 1.2 to 2 meters deep. The cost also goes high, but in some areas where we have got good soils, in engineering, good soils, we normally talk of gravel. Areas where we have got good gravel, that's what we call good soils in engineering. But in areas where we have got that black cotton soil, the red soil, we need to take it out. Then in some areas like in Ngundu there where we need to do blasting, the cost also goes up. But the cost of constructing a road in Zimbabwe ranges from around 300, 400,000 going upwards. But it also depends with the design. Like on a rebate bridge, we have got a 40 millimeter thick of tarmac. Then below we have got a 150 millimeter of crushed stone. I'm sure some they call it quarry stone, but we normally call it crushed base 150. Then below it, we do have an average of 300 millimeter. That's a ruler from high school that we normally use at high school. That's 30 centimeters. Yeah, we call it. So on that one, we are now also stabilizing with cement to the extent that on average, we use like 10 trucks per kilometer of cement for stabilizing. 10 trucks, we are assuming 600 bags in a truck. Then also below it also depends if it's clay, we have to dig it out until we get to a level where we don't have that expensive material. So it varies. The cost per kilometer varies from one road to another and also from one section to another. But that's the average cost. And also the width of that road is a 12.5 meter width. So with a lane of 3.75 and 3.75. And then a shoulder, we are saying from the yellow line going to the far left of either side of the road, that's about 2.5 meter. The reason for that is, I'm sure for those who have been traveling on a railway bridge, you are it was just a lecture. Thank you, other members. Thank you. Thank you.
What we have spreadsheets, that we have figures, we can always provide also on the Wednesday. Because just off the cuff, like for Bainbridge, because Bainbridge you find we're about 80 kilometers left. So there we're owing about 30. I think the Treasury is really pushed to bring down what we owe on that side. And then we are also owing on the roads that we did for the summit in town. But we have the spreadsheet, I think, for exact figures. We can also give a table when we submit on Wednesday.
Follow-up questions. The first one was on your response to the issue of direct payments. You seem to suggest or imply that you were concealing some of the expenditure. Hence it was not brought to account. Because you said if it was brought to your books, it would show that you had exceeded your budget. But either way, it still has to be accounted for under your vote. What you would have expected was the necessary funds. But you were quite happy to say keep it at treasury as long as it doesn't show that you are exceeding your budget. Can I have your comments on that?
Yes. I think by implication, what we are saying is, as you pass the Appropriation Act here, we are meant to operate within the confines of that provision. More often, in an operational environment, we are faced with situations where, for example, if you look at our utilities, ZESA, ZINO, and so on, we are indebted to those service providers, usually. Year in, year out, if we want to apply the resource envelope to cover fully for those, we'll end up not leaving a single dollar for current activities. As we run short in provision for those to those areas, we are faced with a situation of prior year debts to those service providers, and yet we continue consuming. What has been happening? Treasury, in its wisdom, faced with that situation, has been paying on behalf of ministries, but in this case I will talk on behalf of transport, but I'm aware when they do it awesomely, to ensure that those entities also survive. But during the very same course of the year, if they don't take steps to increase budgets by way of supplementaries, remember they will be taking that money of theirs from their vote 5, which is UR. But we need to be given letters to say this is what we have done. We can only come to realize when we are now preparing our appropriation account, and we depend on what emerges from the system, but Treasury will be having different figures. Those figures ought to be sanitized through issuance of subventions to Treasury to cover for those. If they don't, then they remain on the Treasury books, which means Treasury will have to account for them before the same committee. If we don't get it on time, the letters to...
Thank you. I want engineer. You mentioned a follow-up question of 1.2 million kilometers. Have you ever done any competitive bidding for these contracts? Or competitive tender?
Yes, Thank you. For the same contractors to be on the ground, the tender was done initially whereby category A contractors were invited, and those are the contractors who were working on the road. So that's my answer.
No response. Thank you. Honorable members, is there anyone ready? Honorable Chairman, are you ready?
For the responses.
Yeah, the response.
So what we can do is we can give the permanent secretary just to summarize, just an overview. Then I think if we have some further questions, I think we can then speak up.
Honorable members have an opportunity to respond. Service level agreement with, was it 1010? Is that now in place?
That is still work in progress. The terms of reference, they're in place, and a committee has also been set up that is now to come up with zero draft of this service level agreement. So this the committee is working, but at the same time also the contract, as you know, is also still in play and we are implementing. So these are running concurrently. But the status of the service level agreement is that now we have a team that is on the ground just to make sure that maybe the requirements or the needs of all the players, they are met. Because in the past that was what has been, going up and down. So you didn't meet this, you didn't meet that. But with this committee in place, we hope that at least work will be more speediest.
As a committee, we were concerned about the fact that you are wholly reliant on an external organization. What steps have you made to ensure that they have a local partner so that in the event that they are winding down, they will have been able to pass on the knowledge that has been technical know-how has been passed on to a local entity?
What's happening now is that 1010 actually requires resources from us. We're giving them our people. These are people that are in the ministry. So the work that they're doing, our people are also learning what the system needs, how they can also work within the system. Because at the end of the day, like you rightfully say, it is not sustainable, to be having them forever. So that has been realized, and we have our people from CVR, VID, RMT that are working with 1010 at the moment to make sure that they learn and they pass the knowledge to us.
To 2.4, the issue of the public vehicle. I think the question there, which you need maybe to expand, was the first one is why if the imported vehicles and VID depot stayed up to 12 years when Section 10 of the road and road traffic rules of the road regulations 1974 empowers the ministry to sell vehicles that are unclaimed for 6 months. Maybe you need to respond to that.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It is true. So the vehicles that are VID, some of them, they are maybe vehicles that have been dumped by the roadside and they are taken to VID. Some are accident damaged. Some are there because of legal issues. So the ones that are there because of legal, we find that those ones we cannot dispose until the issue at court is settled. So before that issue is settled, we cannot touch them. Then on the other ones, you find that we have tried to sell, but there have been no takers.
people are just not buying those vehicles, so we're stopping them. So what we've been thinking now, as a ministry, is to say, okay, how else can we dispose of those vehicles? Maybe we're thinking of maybe donation, or maybe burying, or burning. So that is also where we are, because no one is buying.
Yes, thank you. Through Chairman, we cannot just maybe donate them or dumping them. You can take them to Chinese people, they need scrap. You make a lot of money. There are so big trucks which you can go anywhere and make a lot of money and buy maybe 10 or so trucks back to VID and allocate them to VID people so that they will start working.
Thank you, Honorable. Yeah, we are, of course, right now we're looking at avenues on how we can, so thank you for that. We will explore that avenue so that we can at least salvage something from them.
Chair?
22 accounts. Yet we are now in 2024. What is the progress regarding the 2023, and why is it taking the ministry long to ensure that your accounts are audited on time? Because the problem that we have with the ministries that have side backlogs is that when we then go through these reports trying to do our oversight, most of the work is rendered academic because of the time frame. So what we've done as the committees to implore upon the accounting officers to make sure that they bring up to date their accounts, and we are also seeking assistance from the office of the president, because you sign performance contracts there, and it must be one of the requirements that if you are not up to date, it means that they are not doing your work properly. And so maybe you can give us an update on where you are regarding 2023, and also whether you will be able to meet the 2020 for the current targets. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. There's quite an issue that OFIS is been worrisome. But I want to believe that the Act is very clear as to when we should submit our year-end accounts. We have two critical dates that we will work with, 31st of January and the 28th of February to submit. And I think for the information, we are also now very much aware of the reporting deadlines requirement by the Auditor General, and we always strive to submit within the prescribed time frames. I think this is something that we have done and we will continue doing religiously. Where we delay in submission, I think it will be an error, but I think what we need to do is to stick to those reporting deadlines to facilitate or allow the Auditor General to also do their work within the prescribed time frame that they report by June. And I think once everyone complies, we all become compliant, and I think we will discuss it. As for the 2023 financial year, I think yes, we have been audited, and what remains, I think, is the fund account. Yes, but for the main appropriations, they are audited.
Can you confirm auditor?
Honorable Chair, yeah, indeed, for 2023, we audited and certified and submitted. But for the fund accounts, which is in area, we are auditing the 2023.
So you have everything that you need for the fund account?
Yeah, for the fund account, yes, we are actually doing our visits for the profits, and we are now finalizing.
I'm not so sure whether you really explained why your appropriation account was not submitted to account. You're saying if the deadlines are met, then we also have to try and make sure submit, we talk of January 31, February 28. What actually happened for 2023? Because it's not there in this report.
Apparently, for everyone to take note, those two reporting deadlines will be made. Whether the account balances or not, they have to be submitted.
Yes.
But if one thinks that we need to equalize, then submit, therefore the delay will ensue. So this is primarily what happened. Staff thought we should submit once we've finalized or have a balancing account, which they failed to do. Because remember, when we have these direct payments, you have to be going up and down treasury to get the paperwork. So that those delays will give rise to a situation that we find ourselves in. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think we are now going to
The speeding drivers, particularly those long distance buses. And maybe you can just update us on what you are doing in terms of enforcing the issue among speed trackers, because the number of accidents involving those buses are worrisome. So you can take also that opportunity to deal with that aspect so that you can update us on what you are doing.
Okay, before you answer that one, Secretary, can you also at the same time brief us on your progress regarding the setting up of a road accident fund? Thank you.
Chair and honorable members, as a ministry, I think you are aware that we gazetted statutory instrument 118, which governs how public passenger service vehicles operate in the country. So for you to get an operator license, if you are using a public passenger vehicle, you need to have a speed limiting gadgets fitted on your pass. And when you go to Vehicle Inspectorate Department to obtain your certificate of fitness, which is a prerequisite for you to get an operator's license, the first thing that VID checks is to see if your vehicle is fitted with a speed limiting gadget. And those speed limiting gadgets, they were approved, both the installers and the devices were approved by the Standards Association of Zimbabwe. So we have quite a number of approved suppliers and installers in the country. But what we have witnessed is I'll comment from two perspectives. The first one is, the unfortunate incident where we now have good roads and then our drivers start racing, enjoying the good roads, which is leading now to a spate of accidents. But because we have done this statutory instruments to ensure that the buses are limited to 100 kilometers per hour, what we've observed is, in the absence, maybe let me go back a bit, for it now to be able, for government now to be able to do enforcement of these speed limiting gadgets and ensuring that there is compliance, we need our enforcement authorities on the roads, primarily in this case the ZRP, to be able to have gadgets, either mobile gadgets, so that they will be able to extract information from the bus which would have been speeding. Or alternatively, if they do not have the mobile gadgets, we expect to have at roadworks, at intersections or along the highways, some speed monitoring cameras, which is also something that Ministry of Home Affairs as a therapy we're working on in terms of making sure that they have that system. But in the absence of that, our VID officials, currently they do not have the gadgets, but we have since engaged our Parastate Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe to procure some gadgets for our enforcement authorities on the highway, so that they will be able not just to see, but to be able to extract information. From 3 or 4 instances that have occurred where we have seen some anomalies, we have noted that some unscrupulous bus operators or drivers, they just fit these gadgets for compliance purposes to obtain a certificate of fitness at FAIT. Once they get the certificate of fitness, either they remove the gadget or they just tamper with the gadgets. And we have seen since proved that. I think the recent one was the bus which was speeding, which was captured by Honorable Machakai when it was impounded by FAIT Lusatu. They noted that the gadget was tampered with. But our statutory instrument 118 is provision for the consequences of tampering or removing the gadget, which is a fine liable to level 5 or imprisonment or both. So action is taken. But what I would want to emphasize is, in as much as these efforts are currently in place, in the absence of electronic monitoring of such, it's really difficult at the moment to do enforcement. What we're also now trying to do is, as a deterrent measure for issues that are within our purview, we said instead of waiting for the police to have an electronic traffic management system which then would communicate and send information to the database of drivers and vehicles, we would then have to rely, if I take, for example, if I refer to the Rusape example that I've just given, the driver was then apprehended by the police and due a prosecution. Once it's done, we then have to manually take the court orders and the proceedings and manually capture it severe, so that we try to do a penalty, manual penalty meriting of that driver. So you're, for example, you're allocated to say if we deduct 3 points, then we are going to endorse your driver's license or we are going to give you a warning. So I think in brief that's what I'll be presenting. I'll allow the permanent secretary to talk about the road accident fund. Thank you.
Just let me follow up before. Yeah, the truth of the matter is that I doubt if there's a single bus that is a tracking device on the road. You see, because my bus I would probably overtake about 140, 150, you know, per road now. And I don't know what needs to be done, because the situation is really dire, you know. If just now we're coming from Flower, I noticed after that Honorable Machakai released when I traveled the following day, the buses that were meeting there, I think they just reduced for that particular. But now when we're coming from Flower, we are back again to that. So maybe I think also the conversation must also be with the Home Affairs, because I think it's only in Zimbabwe. Most of these countries, like if you go to Botswana, you can hardly drive over 100 kilometers without meeting a police enforcing speed on the road. But here from Vic Falls to Haran, I never saw a single police on the road. They are happy to enforce ZBC licenses, but no one is really. So I don't know if it's the question of gadgets. I'm sure the ministry can facilitate and provide gadgets. It's budget time. I think that's the role of the MPs. MPs are one. If you need us to assist you, please reach out so that these gadgets can be provided to the police, so that they don't have an excuse. Thank you.
Can I address please? Through you, Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll talk about also the road accident fund. This fund, you find that it is something that was discussed some years back, and it has been in discussion over time. So in the past also people have also done benchmarking. They've gone to Botswana, they've gone to South Africa, just the neighboring Zambia, Malawi, the neighboring countries. So where we are now, last month we had a ride show where we invited all stakeholders, finance, Attorney General, our VID, all stakeholders, health, local government, that you have to do, because you find that that agency will also Home Affairs, it cuts across many
different ministries. So even though the Ministry of Transport will be administering this agency, but we'll need to know that, okay, when an accident happens, ambulances, what happens? The police, what happens? Then after that, if it's funeral, what happens? So last month, there was that discussion that we had, and at the moment, we're in the process now of finalizing the principles so that they can be taken to cabinet. So it is also something which we are fast tracking, given that the accidents on our road really have been a menace. So it is something which we really feel that we really have to fast track so that we can have something in place.
Thank you. And any details, any other issues? Regarding the report.
Just to say, this report, we found it very useful. I think like what Honorable was saying, that these reports, they are there to fine tune and make sure that our efficiency in ministries is improved. So this report was instrumental, and as we've not yet our strategic plan, so there are issues here and also issues that we've discussed today that we are going to be taking over into our strategic plan. They should say even budget-wise, what do we need to put in the budget to address some of the issues that have been lacking in the past. So we are really thankful. I think the auditors, they know when they come to the ministry. I tell them that, audit yekare ndoyanele kutsvaga muroyi kuti diani, but audit yanhasi ndeyekuti how do we make our processes better. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me the purpose is not to thank for coming. We are free to go. Thank you.